Marv, I believe you've got a question for me this week, kid.
I have got a question for you, kid. It comes from a lovely book called Questions for Terrible People. 250 questions you'll be ashamed to answer. So, let's go.
Here we go then.
What one sentence could you say to a 6-year-old that would shatter them for life?
For life?
For life. Now, the little bit at the bottom says they already know Santa Claus doesn't exist. So you can't say that.
That was going to be my go-to. I'm really struggling with that. Maybe you contribute nothing right now, and it's only going to get worse.
Yeah, a bit of like foreboding, yeah. I kind of get that.
Just like, you think it's hard when you can't have the apple-flavored juice drink, yeah? You wait, son. You wait. Big Papa Mez is going to teach you how it's going to go, kid.
There ain't no apple-flavored juice drinks up in adulthood, all right, kid? Now scram. Daddy's got business to attend to.
Daddy's got a podcast. Now get out of my room.
That's a good one. Dear. That's a good one. How you been then, kid? How's your week been?
Not too bad. Not too bad. I had a driving lesson yesterday.
Nice.
That's getting better and better. I've basically been told that I just need to get better at general driving. Like changing gears, pulling away, stopping. I just need to get better at all that stuff. So basically we're going to spend time doing it until I decide not to rip the car in gear or try and change gear when the clutch isn't all the way down or hit the brake like I'm trying to kick a brick wall down, you know, that stuff. Oh, and the this week's not challenge as such, but thing that blew my mind was he was like, I was turning after traffic lights, and he was like, and into second. I was like, but I'm turning, and and he was like, into second. And I did it, nearly veered off at somewhere else, and he was like, yep, keep the steering steady. I managed it, just about. But there's always something else he's got to do for me, so I'm not out of the woods yet, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I see what you mean. It's that whole.
But I get a real.
Go on. I cut you up.
Yeah, here we bloody go. I get a real rush from it. So this week we went towards town. For listeners who aren't in the southwest, unless you didn't already work that out, I am from Bristol. Because of my thick accent, I'm sure you worked that out already. And we headed towards closer to the sort of centre. And with lockdown lifting at the moment, we basically, about 3-4 o'clock on a Monday, it gets a bit busy. So I would say about 30-40% of my lesson yesterday was sitting in traffic looking at other people going, what is he doing? Like, genuinely, there was one where we were going around a school and this guy was coming out of another road that was already been blocked by traffic, and this dude was pulling further, and I could see the traffic lights in the distance, but he was pulling further and further out to the point where the splits in his windows from the side view were covering up the traffic lights, and I was like, that's useful, mate, thank you. I know you can obviously look, is it 2 or 3 vehicles ahead of you when you see the brake lights go out, or when they start moving you can start preparing to move, but I like to see the traffic lights, mate. I like to see them. I like to know where I am. And also, one quick last bit, some dude driving back this way from town, some dude decided he'd had enough of waiting behind a car on the oncoming side of the road, and he decided to completely turn out and around. The car park was a 4x4. He was in a 4x4. Before I had time to do anything, my instructor reacted. I have never seen this man move this fast in all my life. In fact, the only memory I have is feet going down. He grabbed the gear stick and pulled the steering wheel to the side.
Wow.
And he didn't apologise, but he was just like, oh, I didn't even notice myself doing that. You just see a situation arise and you deal with it.
Yeah.
And so I was impressed by that. I've been practicing with a new band. It's all very secret. Nice. I'm sure we'll feature a track at some point.
Can you tease us a name, maybe?
I can't do that, mate.
What are you
I
doing
can't
in the
do that.
band?
I am the co-guitarist. I like to think of myself as the rhythm guitarist, but the other guy won't have that. So I am the co-guitarist. We auditioned our now vocalist properly last week. He is very, very good, and I'm looking to maybe look at doing a few lyric writing sessions with him, because I quite like my lyrics, but I want them to be better. So yeah, and prepared for this little baby, and that's about it, really. I'm just going through the motions as you do, and I've just decided that the next thing I want to binge watch is Prison Break. So,
ooh, yeah, never seen it.
it's worth a watch. It is worth a watch, and that's all I'm going to give you. Marv, how's your week been? Me old stunner, go on the boys.
You never called me a stunner before. This is new territory.
Well, I thought you already knew it. I thought it went without saying, but it's good to remind you.
It's good to hear. Thank you, buddy. Yeah, my week's been pretty good. I mean, again, hectic. Just working, doing other stuff. Got a piano track down for a friend. It was really hard, but it was very satisfying to do. And we just had...
What was it? Twinkle, 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 little star.
Yeah, one, like, using two fingers.
Yeah,
so hard.
Difficult,
so
that,
hard.
mate, difficult.
I'm playing it now. Nah, forgot it. Twinkle-oo. Yeah, we had a meeting, didn't we, with our function band stuff. There's three of us now.
Yes, we did. Yes, indeed.
And we're just discussing future plans because we're having gigs booked in, and it's very weird feeling to think that maybe this time next month I might actually be playing a gig.
Weird, isn't it?
It's very, very
weird to
strange.
think about.
It's very, very strange. So for the first time since lockdown in Britain, which was March, I'm going to actually have to start learning songs again because I haven't touched any cover songs. I had such a long break. It was so nice, but
it was.
It's going to be all the flashbacks of getting back at 5 a.m. and playing 3:45s, and
it's going to be nice to do that again. Though I've been saying to a few people, like at the weddings and stuff, where you're kind of like, oh, one day it'll be me. Oh, bloody hell, another wedding. Hit me, attack me. If I ever say that again, please. Even if you don't know me, even if you're out on the street, you think, oh, there's Mez, and all you can hear me saying is, oh, another bloody wedding. Hit me, because I think it's really made all of us realise what we have.
Exactly. I think keeping a positive outlook on things and just going, well, especially in our lifetimes, I've never experienced anything where the world's just shut down.
Yeah. Worst pandemic situation for 100 years.
And it's frightening, but it should push you to want to do the things you want to do and go, let's give it 100%. So, yep, that's great. Can't wait. And doing this podcast has been amazing. Got a really good one. This one.
Yeah.
Yeah, just everything's good. You know what I'm saying? Can't really say much.
Sweet
Can't really
stuff,
say much.
mate.
I just kind of want to get into it. Oh, and I've been listening. For some weird reason, this thing's clicked in my head where all I want to listen to is new music all the time. I've not touched anything old or albums that I've heard a million times before. I've just been strictly listening to the global top 50, Spotify, and just going in on new music. I don't know what it is. It suddenly now is nourishing to me. Because before it'd be like, if I was on a car journey or something, like an hour and a half, if I listen to albums that I already know, it's like, especially in a certain playlist I've got, I'm like, oh, by the end of this album, I'll be at this location. I'll be at this point. Whereas sometimes when you listen to something new like that on a drive, it just goes past your head. But recently, I've just been caning loads of new music. There's this playlist that was from the Good Girls TV show, which I'd recommend you watch. It's actually very, very good. But that had a lot of current music on it and a lot of new songs and artists I'd never heard of. A lot of French artists. But I like the French kind of electronic pop scene. But yeah, I just wish I'd done it sooner. I was in such an old music bubble. Not to say I just strictly listen to old music, but yeah, it's been great. So hopefully that continues.
It's easy to be caught in that.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, to the comments. So my friend Sam Walton, when we were talking about, I think we were talking about our childhood albums, and I talked about
Yes.
Aqua, and he just wanted to correct me because he likes to correct me, and I like that he does that. Keeps me on the straight and narrow. I called Barbie Girl a one-hit wonder, and he says I put it to that Aqua had 2 hits. And the second I read that message, I went, "Witch Doctor." Course it is.
Yeah.
Of course it is. So thanks for that, Walton.
No.
He knows as well. And for the last episode with Oshin, he listened to Trap Math Replica. He said I had to throw in the towel after 10 minutes. He said
10 minutes.
So I find it incredible that it was written full stop. They managed to make it sound like everything was recorded independently with no one knowing what everyone else was playing. Can't remember which one of you said it, but that it has that sound of a group of people with little musical skill being given instruments. Reminds me of the things I try to create in GarageBand. Bless him. Maybe that's why people consider it genius, that it was all intentional. I personally don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, there we go. It's up for discussion. As with everything, it's up for discussion.
Exactly.
Except one of the albums I'll be referencing in today's episode. That is certainly not up for discussion, but I'll give you a precursor for that.
And then going on to our Patreon, Ollie Kant, he's such a consistent commenter, and I love it. He's always got something to say, always got something worthy to say too. He puts to us on episode 7 when we talked about albums we love, and we were trying to talk about what could be a classic now. To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar would be a classic. Of course. He says, when looking back historically in 20 years, I'm confident it'll be something that defined the time in which it was made. It captured a moment, and all classic albums do that. And I think he is so on point there. So on the mark.
Yeah, very, very correct. Yeah, nice one, Ollie.
Great one. And he plays his old Final Fantasy games while listening to the podcast too. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I love that. That's great.
He says, you're so right about Princess Nokia when we were talking about childhood albums. Katana's also a tune, so the whole album's a jewel.
Yeah, I'll have a listen. to that, Ollie.
There you go. Let's get on that. And he had one more. So referencing the last episode of The Sheen, he goes, God, I remember when The Bucket by Kings of Leon used to get played on E4 every morning before school, when an actual music channel.
Yeah. That was a thing, wasn't it?
And I remember watching The Killers Read My Mind. It was on there. I remember being really sick throughout the day, but it's one of those ones where you wake up really early and you're like, something's not right. Then you throw up. Then you go downstairs and you're like, well, I can't go to sleep and whatever. And I remember watching The Killers Read My Mind, all the music channels, and then I went to E4+1 and just watched the same ones. Just
nice.
So ill. But yeah, thanks to everyone who comments on Patreon, especially Ollie Kant, because he's just there for us all the time. If you want to join him, join the discussion, get involved. www.patreon.com/50 Waste Podcast. That is 50 Waste Podcast. It's £3 a month. You get the unedited episode a day early. I mean, what more could you ask for? Probably quite a lot more we could ask for, but we're going to get the merch. We're going to get stuff sorted out. You're going to get extra stuff. Please give us time, yeah? We're renegades. We're geniuses. We're rebels.
Renegades. You also get a free personalised video.
Oh, that is very, very true. That is very true. And we have one to do, don't we, for Marcus Rudd?
We do. Marcus Rudd. Rarcus Mud. Go on the boys.
Go on the boys. Anyways, let's get into this one. So
let's get stuck in, kid.
Let's get stuck in. So yes, bands or artists that hate their own album. So it is weird when a band or an artist releases an album and then you kind of start reading interviews and they're like, this sucks. Don't buy it. This is terrible. What was I thinking? You just think, well, but I like it. This is part of my life now. And it really can kind of throw you through the loop. There's a lot of different factors of why someone would hate something or the reason why they don't like it. It might not just be about the songs. It can be about, the legalities behind it or record labels, just loads of stuff. Instantly, when this topic of discussion came up, my mind always goes to Pinkerton by Weezer. It's my favorite album. I can't see a time that I'll ever dislike it or stop listening to it when I get the urge to. It's such a huge part of my life. It was a huge part of my life about 2021 when Deluxe edition came out. And it's still like a part of my life now, but it's not a huge part of my life, but it's just great. Every time I listen to it, it's just absolutely amazing. So the lead singer and the songwriter, Rivers Cuomo, has a very troublesome relationship with this kind of work. He pretty much kind of assassinated the album and turned his back on it when he was doing the follow-up, which was the Green album, about 2001. So the infamous quote, one of them goes like this: "The most painful thing in my life these days is the cult around Pinkerton. It's just a sick album, sick in a disease sort of way. It's such a source of anxiety because all the fans we have right now have stuck around because of that album. But honestly, I never want to play those songs again. I never want to hear them again." So that's not someone who really wants to talk about the album, let alone celebrate it. You know what I'm saying?
No, clearly not. Wow.
And, you know, as a kind of brief reminder or a brief kind of summation, they did the Blue album, big success. Everyone liked it. Oh, goofy, happy songs. Then he was like, that's not exactly what I was going for. Did a really straight, literal, to the point album, very open and honest. Probably one of the most honest and raw records maybe ever. Definitely up there. It kind of shown us a lot of like private feelings that he had. He was on a lot of strong painkillers, had leg surgeries, you know. It was hated upon release. It wasn't really liked upon release. It failed critically and commercially. And that sent him into a bit of a depression. And basically, Weezer kind of disbanded about 1990, late 97, early 98. He painted all of the rooms in his house black, blackout blinds. It was like living the emo dream, basically. No one heard from him until he came out with Hash Pipe, which is a great song. But some people are like, that's the true divide in the Weezer camps.
I do love Hash Pipe.
It's great. Vocal Melody's great. Really, really cool. Green album. It's solid, but it can be forgettable. But yeah, it's so strange because I read the diaries that he released and everything else, and it just seems like he got so hurt because no one liked it. He then felt guilty because he let his bandmates go down this path of, let me do a really weird, strange album where I kind of base it on an opera called Madame Butterfly. I talk about I want to sleep around, but then I don't want to sleep around. And then, I'll tell everyone I've got a thing for half Japanese girls. And, the song Across the Sea, which is about an 18-year-old sending him a fan letter. And then he's imagining how she spends her private time, sniffing her letter, pretty odd kind of out the back, especially when you just think, oh, Buddy Holly, that's a nice, cool song with a nice solo.
Well, yeah, this is such a juxtaposition, isn't it? When you think about the Blue album, I love the Blue album, and I don't see it. I mean, you kind of said like there's kind of a bit of silliness in there and stuff. I can see the silliness, but I take that album completely seriously. I think it's absolutely fantastic, and it yeah, to go from something like Buddy Holly to everything you've just described, that's a bit, and I mean, I can see what you mean by dividing in the sort of fans camp, because at that point you're either down with the like creepy, weird sort of nice letter smell, or you're down for the sort of I look just like Buddy Holly. You know what I mean? There's no real... Yeah. It's almost like the difference between early sort of bubblegum Beatles pop and like then the progression into Revolver and the White Album, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, you could say like, you could go from She Loves You to I Want You, She's So Heavy.
Oh man, what a tune.
Two very contrasting songs about two very contrasting things.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. So what happened was he distanced himself from it because he's like, well, that didn't work. So let me just go back to what worked. Very formulaic power pop. Some would say very much watered down from the Blue album. But what happened was around the time that they disbanded, about late 97, early 98, the internet happened. People started listening to this album. There was a cult around it. People went, this is actually brilliant. This is amazing. This is great. This should be celebrated. But at this point, he'd moved on. Hated playing them. I think he had to play them because they only had 2 albums worth. They had 20 songs when they came back.
Yeah.
They were writing furiously. And you look at their work from 2000 to 2010, that period, they distanced themselves more and more from Pinkerton. But it's becoming this bigger thing. It seems like now he's kind of come to terms with it. My feeling is that he actually does love it and he really loves this album. He just got really hurt by it. And I understand why he did what he did. But, when you're when you release the deluxe version, 2011, you play the whole album at your concerts, like a memories tour. I mean, you're probably getting a bit of Spondooly. Someone's probably gone, this is like really good now. So maybe just do this and get a bit more Spondooly in your pockets. Because around that time, they did Raditude and Hurley, which are usually universally credited as two of their worst albums. And they probably will have podcast episodes devoted to them. We might even start it on our new kind of episode variant of Because It's, where we kind of maybe pick a band or a genre and then maybe just discuss that. So we could do it Because It's Weezer. But yes, Pinkerton, I mean, now it's got 100 out of 100 on Metacritic. It's got the highest score. It's got a perfect score rating.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it's that good. Like, honestly, it's that good. I think maybe even if you don't connect to it, it's just, I don't know, it's just a great album. It's just a great album. But yeah, that's kind of what I want to say on that. I'll give you some questions now because I love giving you questions. Who has the final say or the more important opinion on an album after the release? Is it the artist or is it the listener, and why?
The final say or the more important input? Which one?
Or the more important opinion.
Opinion, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's a consumable product. It's being put out to be consumed. So, yes, you could look at it as the consumer, the listener, the not the critic. We don't talk about critics on this show. We do, but we don't. The same critics that said that Led Zeppelin are a poor man's Cream and said Queen was a poor man's Led Zeppelin. So, I mean, you can stuff it. All of you listening, stuff it. Don't want to know what you think. I'll go and listen to what I want.
Wait, do you want them to come down for a coffee so you can tell them that?
No, not going to waste my coffee on the critics.
They're not even going to get invited for a lush coffee.
Nope.
Wow, you really are mad at them.
All they're going to hear is this: you're more than silly gooses. What I think you are, I can't actually say. So
I could let you have one swear word if you like, because I got two coming up.
No.
Okay, I'll say both of the swear words for me then. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, I think it's important from both ends, because without the artist, the listener can't consume, and without the consumer, the artist cannot be artistic, express, etc., etc. I think they're both one and the same. They support each other.
Yes, I agree. I look at something like, which I remembered a couple of days ago. I remember Motorhead. There was a big Motorhead box set that came out probably 5 years ago. It was huge, and it was like in a big encrusted kind of the logo and the emblem.
Yeah,
and Lemmy
I
said,
remember that.
"Do not buy it, because this is nothing. Didn't license this. This is like some record company old thing. They just want to cash in on stuff. Songs are all great. They're all classic Motorhead. But he's like, do not waste your money." I want to say it was something like 600 quid.
That sounds like it would be around that price, doesn't it?
Like,
really, when you...
Yeah, he was like, do not buy it. So I think in something like that, which does play into this slightly, because Lemmy doesn't hate the songs on it. He just hates what the product is. I would then be...
What it represents.
Yeah, I'd be listening to Lemmy and going, nah, I'm good. I'll stick to the original albums, or I'll get a best of Motorhead. That's like 5 quid or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I think, again, go back to organised noise. It's the listener, in my eyes. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. If you've set your music up, if you've released your music anywhere, if it's free, whatever, you are putting it in the realm of people to want to criticize it, or you're putting it into the realm of people to listen to it. That could then be their favorite tune. That could be whatever. So it's almost in that weird thing of like when people apologize. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. It's like, it just kind of weakens it a bit, doesn't it? You see what I'm saying?
It's like when a comedian makes a controversial joke, and now we've got this whole thing of comedians coming out being like, oh, I didn't mean to offend anyone. And it's like, well, no matter what you do, you're always going to be getting somebody's back up. And that's just kind of like whatever, isn't it, really? I mean,
yeah.
You got to deal with that. We've all got enemies. We've all got people that we'd really rather not see, spend time with, or even be in the same country as. But just means you exist and you have your own opinion, you know? So I suppose, yeah, exactly. Like the whole apologizing thing, or even when we spoke about that Johnny Cash tribute album where the producer was like, I had a really good time, so if you don't like it, then that's your problem. It's like, yeah, I wouldn't have handled it like that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have handled it like that. So, I mean, to me, that's actually worse than coming out and going, oh, sorry, everyone. Like, oh, no, I'll try better next time.
Yeah.
And you get yourself into the whole Metallica situation when they released Death Magnetic, when everyone was going, oh, I just want Metallica to go back to their roots. And they released it, and everyone went, yeah, I've heard it. Yeah, it's just Metallica going back to their roots, isn't it, really? It's nothing. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So do what you want. Who cares? I'll buy your albums if I like them.
There you go. That is really, really well put and said and all that stuff and talked about. Bill Burr, I've been listening to a lot of his podcasts. He sums this up great. So he was getting a lot of fan mails he did a bit about stay-at-home mothers. So he had a couple of emails that he what's the word I'm trying to think of?
Read
out. I forgot the word read then. If anyone wants to help for my therapy to remember words, that would be brilliant. Yes, he read out some fan mail or hate fan mail that said, I like all comedy, you know, everything. I like everything you do. But when you started attacking stay-at-home mothers, that's where I drew the line. And he goes, what's funny is, he's like, they'll laugh at the fat jokes. They laugh at the disabled jokes. They'll laugh at all these horrible other jokes that I might put in my act. But the second it comes to something about them, suddenly I'm the worst piece of like human garbage on the world. And I was like, I like that.
No, it's true. It's true. Think about it. I mean, we're so offended. You know what I mean? A lot of things, and that's absolutely fine. Everyone has the right to be offended. I quite agree with you. But as long as you realise that when you're offended, nothing happens. Like you'll go. The best thing to do in that scenario is either learn to laugh at yourself, or if it's a scenario that's way too traumatizing and you need to not know about that, don't go and listen to the guy. Don't buy tickets to his shows. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's like, I remember a whole thread on the internet years ago about, so you know, Angel of Death by Slayer.
Of course I do, yes.
The whole thing, you obviously know the subject matter.
I do.
Yes. So that is a bit more universal. That is a bit more like, okay, you know, take it easy, boys. But this is something else. Loads of people were getting offended at this because it was openly talking about the Holocaust. And there's lyrics in there talking about Josef Mengele and how disgusting he is and all this. But just the mention of the subject was offending people. And there needs to be a distinct line of, he's not making light of Holocaust sufferers. You know what I mean? He's not making light of people who died. He's just written a song about it. You know what I mean? He's been creative using that subject. It's bold, and it is not something I'd undertake. That either works or it really doesn't. Yeah. But no, and I think that's the same deal with this guy you're talking about, this comedian. It's just like, just don't go and listen to him then. Like, yeah, it's fine. Like, you're okay. Go and listen to Bobby Davro or whatever it is you clearly think you love all comedy and like to enjoy.
Other comedians are available, of course. We celebrate all comedians, but yeah, I'm going to leave. I've got a quote here, and I want to get your opinion on it, but I'm going to wait till you've done your album pick, Mez, because that was my half album. Okay. So please tell us, what is the album you've picked for us this week, laddie boy?
So this week, I decided to go to a band that I am aware of, I have listened to. In fact, I really enjoy listening to. The album not up for discussion is Pet Sounds. That is not up for discussion. That is go and listen to it. Can't tell you, sorry. So, the album I did this week, and I've already got the feeling from you, Marv, that you know a little bit more about this album than I do. It is the MIU album by the Beach Boys. So it was released in 1978. It is 32 minutes and 19 seconds long. Very short. I was shocked at that.
yeah, a nice. I think that's a great length.
Yeah, doesn't outstay its welcome at all. The singles are Peggy Sue, Hey Little Tomboy, and Come Go With Me. The average ratings, they range from sort of average to bad, and this is even now. So, I listened to this album in one wallop because it was half an hour long. Do you know what? I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. There are elements in there that, it's a Beach Boys album. Like you said earlier, you can hear it. It sounds like a Beach Boys album. Right off the bat, the very first tune, She's Got Rhythm, is straight in. I think there's like a drum fill and then it's straight in. And in actual fact, when I was listening to it today, revisiting it, I had earplugs in and I had to turn it down because it came in so like big and hard. I was like, oh, Christ. It's a Beach Boys album. The song, yeah, the song.
Definitely
Other innuendos are available.
Even Queen.
So, I got through this album, and it wasn't getting through it at all. I really enjoyed it. In fact, I've listened to it twice today.
Nice.
I really like it. And then I went off on a bit of a tangent and listened to some of the classics. Wouldn't It Be Nice? I Get Around. And actually, one of my most favourite songs of all time, That's Why God Made Radio.
Oh, it's such a good tune. It's banging, isn't it?
I love it so much. It's fantastic.
Can you remember sitting down? I think we were like...
we were at
the boys' flat, weren't we? We were at Matt and Robbie's flat. And
yes, we were,
flat.
Yep.
And it was either something like... Because we used to sometimes sleep there after a gig if we had another gig the next day. I can't remember or we just turned up. I remember Doyle was there, and we started talking about the Beach Boys, and we were just like, that song's great. And we just listened to it, watched the video where it's really, really funny, where they're like in the hut at the end.
Yeah.
Granddad, what are you doing?
Granddad, don't go getting your surfboard out. You'll break your back.
And he did.
And he did. R.I.P. Mike Love.
He's not dead though, is he?
He's not dead, no.
Okay then, so good stuff there. But yeah, that song's a banger. She's Got Rhythm. I really, really liked it. But I put in my notes, I was like, that's a very high note to start on, isn't it?
Yes.
Incredibly high note.
Oh, mate. But the interesting thing is, so my impression of the Beach Boys, my very first impression, you are already going to know what that is. I hope. Relates to a band that I grew up being obsessed with.
Oh, yeah.
And you absolutely detest it. I love it. I love that you detest it. It's hilarious.
I mean, it's just not very good. From two bands collaborating in an era, the 90s, where they're just not in favour. I don't know who said yes to this, and it just comes across terrible.
It shouldn't have happened.
I think Merritt is talking about the song Fun, Fun, Fun by the Beach Boys, but it's featuring Status Quo. The music video that's on YouTube, I think it might be in like a TV show or something, but it's got Cilla Black.
Yeah, we've watched it. Yeah.
Oh, it's
and you were like, that doesn't look live. And through growing up and listening to it and really enjoying that version, I know it wasn't live. And it just brings us back to the question, who is this for? Yeah, it's a weird one, that, but I recommend going and checking it out. It is absolutely no different to the original in anything, apart from like Francis Rossi singing the lead line.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just very weird. I mean, they've got all of Status Quo there, and then they've got is it the four vocalists at that time of the Beach Boys?
They've got Mike Love, they've got Carl Wilson, and they've got Bruce Johnston. I think that's three people singing.
It's three. Yeah, no, you're right. So, yeah, it's basically just Francis Rossi singing the lead with those three backing them up.
Oh, and Brian Wilson might be playing the piano.
Possibly. I'd have to go and look at it again.
And again, this is the theme with the Beach Boys. For people who don't already necessarily know the history of the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson's kind of in and out, kind of active, kind of not. He kind of stopped touring with them, but was still writing their stuff. This is what Pet Sounds kind of originated as. But yeah, when you get into 70s Beach Boys and, you know, especially around this time, there's definitely a theme of Brian Wilson starting a project and then some members kind of taking the reins off of him and kind of going like, okay, we'll take it from here. We'll finish it off. Don't you worry. And then you kind of get mixed results. You get the Brian Wilson songs, which are really, really good, and then other stuff kind of interspersed in. So this album is in that vein, really, isn't it?
But it's not Summer of Love, which you showed me this week.
Oh no, it's not Summer of Love. That whole album deserves that album will be on somewhere. That will be on somewhere. We'll probably put that on something like, I don't know, shouldn't be in that era, or like bands that should have stopped, or I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But Summer of Love album is I mean, when Mike Love is rapping on it, maybe you should have a think.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is they're obviously trying to stay current and evolve with the times, but unfortunately, you say Beach Boys, people hear one thing, and if you're not doing that one thing, I can't see it going well. You sent me that video, and I listened to it, and I listened to it again and again, and I was just kind of like, I'm not getting this. In fact, the only thing it reminds me of, do you remember that American priest and his wife making that rap video to try and bring in the young kids? I'm not going to say the line. That's because Jesus Christ is mad. Yeah. It's that. It is that. I'm sorry, Mike Love, but that is what it is, kid. All right, you've soiled yourself there, and obviously, whatever. But yeah, no, that killed me. Actually, I was very, very amused. So yes, this album, I have decided to pick a favourite and a least favourite, and we'll get on to why. My favourite is the last track, "Winds of Change."
Interesting. The
reason why it's my favourite, I mean, I think the whole album's lovely. It's very nice. It's got its moments, but it's very nice. Winds of Change is just lovely. It's just a really nice song. I really enjoy listening to it. It's quite slow. It's almost ballady. In fact, I would call it a ballad. Something I did notice on this, like we said, it sounds like a Beach Boys record. The chord changes really draw me in. They really pull me in, which is something the Beach Boys always do. Even on something like Surfing USA, it's obviously just like a 12-bar, but the intertwining close harmonies of the vocals, it just pulls me in. It grabs me by the bollards.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's just a really enjoyable listen. And that whole wall of vocal harmony coupled with good instrumentation. And here's a fun fact for you, Marv. Don't know if you know this. Do you know who's playing bass on Good Vibrations?
I would only think it would be Carol Kay. That's the only person I can think of.
Spot on. It's Carol Kay.
Nice.
And I believe she just came up with that.
Probably.
So that's a really, really nice little snippet. If anyone doesn't know about Carol Kay, I urge you, go and look it up. There's a really good documentary on YouTube about her. Will shock you. You've heard her without even knowing that it's her. She's amazing. Anyway, yes, Winds of Change. Absolutely love it.
I've got a little.
Oh, go on.
I always buy I went into a big phase of buying the uncuts. They do like an ultimate music guide on an artist, so it'd just be a lot of their articles on a certain band. So they did a Beach Boys one. This is what is said about this song. A co-write between Altback and his former King Harvest bandmate Ed Terluja, Winds of Change ends this sad affair with a strings-laden pile of sentimental gloop whose cascading vocal harmonies can't disguise the poor condition of Brian's voice.
I disagree. I think it's a lovely song, to be honest. But that's our mission statement. That's the point. I love it. That critic doesn't. Whatevs, Trebs, keep on.
Whatever,
rocking,
I'm going to get 2 PS1 soon, so whatever.
So shut up, mate. My least favourite, which one do you think is my least favourite, Marv?
Well, I think that's hard. My least favourite was Hey Little Tomboy.
Oh, we're on the par, baby.
We're on par.
That's my least
It felt
favourite.
disjointed to me, right? And there was
It's
something
weird,
about
mate.
There was something about the vocals being like quite up front. Like there was like a lack of reverb. It's very dry, almost like they were the highest out of all the other songs. Those vocals on that track really high in the mix, and like the phrasing, it felt very like they did a first take, and that everyone's just a bit like and your skateboard.
It's kind of like that. But the main reason why it's my least favourite, have you read the lyrics? Because we're going to do a lyric reading.
I have read some of the lyrics. I have a little snippet here, but I'm not going to say them because I feel like we've got the same snippet of lyrics. Merritt, go for it.
So, the song starts off with, "Hey, little tomboy, sit here on my lap." 1978. We're still progressing through, but anyway, I got things I got to tell you. Have you now? Okay. No more skateboards. Put away your baseball mitt. Your rough living days are through. So, this song is about, obviously, tomboys. Girls who, for whatever reason, act a bit more like boys and sometimes look a bit more like boys.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, here, he is openly saying, you should come and sit on my lap. And basically, you can't be the way you are anymore. But we'll progress. The next bit's kind of about going places and finding boys that will love you. And they're doing it all over the world. That is a line that runs strong through this song.
And I like the commitment to the Beach Boys. They're always thinking globally. They never think...
Yeah, they are.
You know,
absolutely.
They might think California. They're based in California. And they, you know, all about the beaches and stuff. And driving to get a hamburger patty. But I'm telling you, where are they then?
They're in California.
That's
do
true.
That, kid, sorry.
Wow.
So, we then have what I'd call the second verse / chorus. Hey... No, this is the chorus, sorry. I'm talking rubbish here, lads. So we've got, hey, little tomboy. Time to turn into a girl. Then two more lines we've heard before. Hey, little tomboy, I've had my eyes on you. Thinking what a girl you could be. This is kind of going downhill.
This is where it gets sad, right?
Yeah, with the same intensity of our dear Plastic Ono band side B. I smell perfume. Let's try some cut-off jeans. Oh, that's weird, man. Look at all the changes I see. So I want to be with you, but you've got to change. And I love the smell of perfume. They're doing it everywhere, so that line to me is almost like a bit of a, so you know you get caught doing something at school, and you go, but he's doing it.
Yeah.
It's almost like that. It's almost like a bit of, everyone's doing it. Don't worry about it, little tomboy.
All around the world.
Weird.
Look at all the stuff I've been doing in Lithuania. Come on, mate.
So, and I'm so happy to get rid of that from my, from my Safari list there. Oh, mate. It's just weird. I don't know if it's because we're now in 2021. Things are a lot more progressive, open, understanding, and rightfully so. That's the way humans should evolve. But it just doesn't age well, to be honest with you. That's how I feel.
The only thing I managed to find was, because again, the backstory I seen on this album was that Brian Wilson started a project called Adult Child.
Yeah, I briefly read that, but go on. I want to hear what you found.
This was the only song which appeared in both the album's track listings. So in the Adult Child, I guess demo or unreleased album, and then MIU. So I guess an Adult Child is a concept album. So the reason why it sounds so disjointed from the rest of the songs is that it has nothing to do thematically. So unless you listen to the Adult Child album, maybe it might make a bit more sense, but
possibly
still, it's
pervy, mate.
Very horrible tasting feeling in my mouth.
Yeah, and the whole thing with the Beach Boys. So to me, the Beach Boys, "Wouldn't It Be Nice," is an absolutely revolutionary pop song about wouldn't it be lovely if we were a bit older, so we could move out and we could be adults and do adult things, and now all of a sudden he's like, hey there, little tomboy. Time for you to be a girl from me. It's just like, dude, come on.
Merritt, you missed the chance to do one of the classic vines of the century there.
Oh, did I?
Hey, little mama, let me whisper in your ear.
Hey, how you doing, little mama? Let me whisper in your ear.
Now, if Mike Love was to sing that instead, that would
Fine,
be great.
absolutely fine. Yeah. Oh dear, no, mate.
I agree.
Oh,
I think
yeah,
it's the worst track
that's-
on the album.
Yeah, and everything else, it has, like you say, it has nice themes, and it's quite poppy and nice. But I think that's the other thing. It's that classic songwriting thing of everything's poppy and nice, but through my mind, his intentions are a little bit seedy and horrible. Whether it was written intentionally to be that way is another matter. So, I have a critic rating here. Now, this is part of my new sort of thing, my new sort of, not schedule, but my new sort of box ticking. I'm going to give you what I think, what somebody else thinks, and then we're going to have an overall.
Nice.
So, we have a critic here, and I hate critics because they're almost always wrong, and sod them. They make too much money, and I should be a critic because I'm so much nicer. Anyway, music critic Nick Kent, it sounds like Kent, I can tell you that, called the album dreadful. He said that its pitiful content was ignored by critics upon its initial release. Sorry, that was the start of a sentence. Upon its initial release, Rolling Stone stated, MIU album seems contrived and artificial right from the start. The tracks strive to recapture the dreamy adolescent innocence of the Beach Boys' earliest hits. So to me, I relate that to Hey Little Tomboy. It's like you've got the, like it says, the dreamy adolescence and the innocence pumped in, where the meaning is it's a little bit more unpleasant than Wouldn't It Be Nice? I Get Around. Although I Get Around, I got some interesting theories about that track, but for another day. Yes. From earliest hits, fall not so much because of the concepts are dated, but because the group can't infuse new material with the same sense of grandeur that made the old songs such archetypal triumphs. Throughout, the lackluster playing and singing has a melancholy edge, almost as if the Beach Boys are fully aware that they've outgrown this kind of teen fantasy, but can't think of any place else to go. Now, I don't really hear lackluster playing. Maybe I'm immune to it because I've only listened to it, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 times. But I didn't get that impression. As I've said, I enjoyed the album. But I don't know. I mean, Rolling Stone, I think they seem to think they have a monopoly on what everyone should listen to.
Yeah.
And I think that's complete bollocks, to be honest with you. But yes. So I do have another quote here. I believe it's Dennis Wilson. Yes, it's Dennis Wilson. When asked about MIU album in the British press, Dennis Wilson said that he doesn't believe in that album and that it was an embarrassment to my life. It should self-destruct. I hope that the karma will fuck up Mike Love's mediation forever. Reflecting on the album in 1992, Mike Love noted it was too democratic, everybody coming into it with their song, which is okay. It's like if you have an album and have a hit song on it, and it's very commercially viable, doesn't it make sense to have another song that would also be commercially viable? Yeah, I totally get that, absolutely. Yeah. And a third and a fourth. And 95, Brian Wilson, obviously, said that he could not remember making the album, claiming that he had gone through a mental blank out during this period. So it's not looked on fondly by them at all. Not at all. But yeah, I mean, that critical opinion of it, it just doesn't seem to reflect how the album sounds in my mind. As I said, I enjoyed it. And now we have a few points from Mez.
Nice.
Just leading forward.
That's my favourite part.
There we go. So to my mind, it's an overall inoffensive album with some good and okay songs on it. Now, I changed my mind on that since I've typed that. I actually really enjoyed it. So, this is kind of my thought. Most of the songs are either 2 minutes, 2.5, and then 2 of them are sort of 3.5 minutes long. That gives me the impression, and this could be feeding back to what you were saying, that the songs are almost a large taster with more to be added later on. It's like you've got to have downloadable content You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, in fact, there's one, and I can't remember which one it was, and it's killing me. There's one song where it just stops. Like the precipice on the edge of a cliff. It just stops.
Wow.
And it's like, oh, okay then. It's not bad. You just don't expect it. But I quite like that. It's quite fresh. The first 3 or 4 songs all fade out and all have like some sort of drum pattern in the intro, I do believe, which I'm kind of like, okay, because on my first listen I was like, do all of them do that? So I listened again, I was like, okay, not all of them do, but I would maybe spread those up and get rid of Hey Little Tomboy altogether. But yeah, a lot of it can be quite forgettable. That is something else. Again, maybe I should listen to it more.
Yeah, I mean, it's formulaic.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
I know my knowledge of 70s Beach Boys onwards is from best ofs. I've never done album by album. It's definitely something that I'd like to think about doing. Not in my new music phase, that is. But I know that some people have said it's like there's underrated gems in there. And when I listen to this album, it sounds like classic Beach Boys.
Yeah,
I'm like, maybe this is one of the ones with the underrated gems on it. But maybe if you think about from Pet Sounds onwards, they weren't really. They did a lot of experimenting, especially and 70s. They were experimenting a lot with the times. I guess this album goes back to early 60s Beach Boys, pre-Pet Sounds. So maybe it's a regression. Maybe that's then why it wasn't liked so much. But when I listened to it, knowing the limited amount of Beach Boys maybe that I know in terms of their full discographies, I really enjoyed it. Come Go With Me, really like that. Kona Coast, Sweet Sunday Kind of Love, like just all sounds like the Beach Boys. It's almost like I could use if someone never heard them and go, what do they sound like? And I couldn't use any classic era Beach Boys. I could go to these and be like, this is what they sound like, and it wouldn't misrepresent them, would it?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Maybe also, just a quick point, the page I was looking on to gain information about this album said it was their 22nd album. That is not true. Surely not.
That is definitely true. They were, I don't know if this was record contracts of the time, but definitely for Beach Boys, something like Kiss as well, like very prolific, overworked. Probably the reason why Brian Wilson had a mental breakdown. Definitely suffered and struggled, but they did a lot of albums. In
1978, you're working on your 22nd album. I'd expect you to be Vivaldi at that point. You know what I mean?
There you go. But that's another episode for another day. People are oversaturated, and I already know the person I'm going to do. So.
Oh yes, here we go then. Yeah, but no, that was actually going to be my point. So I say it's quite forgettable, but as you're mentioning song names, I'm like, oh yeah, that one, and oh yeah, that one. So maybe I just need to give it more time. However, you put it up against something like Pet Sounds, like That's Why God Made Radio, all these absolutely amazing songs. I suppose, yeah, maybe they are a bit forgettable, but like you say, 22nd album. I mean, I would think you'd be running out of things to write at that point. Definitely. Yep. So you can understand to some extent why they are all 2 minutes long. And there are sort of subjects where you kind of like, it's a bit weird you've delved into that. But no. I recently gave Pet Sounds a re-listen as well. And for the second time, our listeners, I'm not going to say anything. If you haven't listened to it, you need your head looking at. Go and listen to it. It will change your life.
Brilliant album. It's a brilliant album. And again, maybe it was the same thing happening here with Me Like a Kind of Blue, where... or no, not Like Kind of Blue, sorry. When we were talking with Jack Sharp about following up successful albums, they're never, ever, ever going to live up to it.
No.
And maybe Like Kind of Blue, actually. But just... You're going to listen to this and your first thing's going to be, this isn't Pet Sounds. Oh, this isn't fun. This is when I get around. It's like, that's 15 years since their first record, between their first one and then MIU. You think about bands that have gone on for 15 years at that point. So I choose Chili Peppers. 83, 84 was their first. I think 84, right? Their first record. 15 years they were doing Californication. They hadn't even released it yet. And I want to say that is maybe their 7th record then.
That's bad.
Pretty sure it might be their 7th record by that point. So you think...
Quite different as well from when you compare the two.
Completely different, yeah. Both bands, but... what am I on about both bands? Chili Peppers, yeah, completely different.
Both albums, yeah.
But MIU, like, I don't know. I just... The fact they're still together at that point... I think what happened here is that they recorded some of this on like a transcendental meditation kind of. They almost built a studio there, so a lot of them are doing drugs at this point. Going on this meditation center, it was like, no drugs. So they kind of got devoid of ideas. They kind of all just kind of drying out. And it was a kind of just like, well, we're just going to have to make stuff. I want to say it's that their last album on their original contract before they kind of sign a new one. I want to say they signed to CBS, but I think this is their last one for Reprise before they went to CBS. And then the 80s happened, and then the early 90s happened.
And then Mike Love discovered rapping.
There you go. But yes,
overall,
go on.
I recommend it. I think it's a good listen. Even Hey Little Tomboy, if you get the subject and some of the words, I mean, I'm not to be foreboding of it was a different time. I mean, thoughts and opinions were different. I'm not saying you should accept it. Everything's subjective, of course. But it is a nice listen, and it doesn't take up any time at all to listen to it. Yeah. It's almost like quite a you don't have to be too committing with it. It's you can sort of pick it up and drop it.
Yeah.
But with that half an hour time length in mind, it's just so easy to listen to. So easy to pop it on and do something. So yes, I would recommend it, and I did enjoy it. So that's that. Have that.
Have that be snout. We'll put on, I reckon, maybe the worst offender or a bad track, whatever you want to call it.
I think we should do my favourite and my least favourite. Winds of Change.
Yep.
And Hey Little Tomboy.
Brilliant picks. Brilliant picks. Yeah.
Go and listen to Pet Sounds right now. It needs no plug-in. It needs no introduction. Go and listen to it. For God's sake, get it in your ears. On to you, Marv.
Nice.
On to you, my son.
I'll give you the question/opinion that I...
okay, yeah. Give it
so this is from the New York Times music Twitter post. I think it's around about 3rd of January 2021 this came out. Says, the truth is that albums worked as a medium only because everyone was a captive. When you look back at your favourite older albums now, I'm sure you see the weak spots that you'd happily have programmed out if you had the technology then. So, do you agree with that statement? What's your kind of thought on, I guess what that leads on to is now people stream, Spotify, other things are available. I was going to say Deezer then. That was the second thing I was going to think of.
Deezer?
Spotify and Deezer, yeah. Basically, everyone has more control now in these days than ever of what you want to listen to, when you want to listen to it. You can listen to playlists. You have the disposal of everyone's whole back catalogue without having to, like my mum used to do, have to go into a record shop and go into little booths and maybe listen to one side or the other side and go, I'll part my money for that. And then you could just, if I want to go listen to an old Beach Boys record, I can just go do it and go listen to recent whatever. So I do get what this person's trying to say, that there are some albums where you're kind of like, oh yeah, this is the 2-minute slog, which is just like one guitar drone and some weird poetry or something, or, oh great, I've got to sit with the 8-minute thing, I can't bother to get up, especially like a vinyl thing. But I like to just sit with the albums, and that is a part of it. It's a part of the music listening experience. Even if there are dull moments or songs that I don't like, I always sometimes try and hear something new, read up about it, research, start a podcast maybe. And I take it for what it is. I don't want to. I get, and I even get used to, you listen to a song off of an album as on its own, and then in your brain then clicks and goes, oh, this song's coming up next. But then you forget you're listening to the album. I really like that kind of feeling. But Mez, like, what's your opinion? If you had the technology back then, let's say CDs, before streaming, that you would have scrubbed out and programmed out all the weak tracks off of your favorite records.
So it's interesting you say that. My favorite ever Status Quo album is an album called Pile Driver. It is brilliant. It's the best thing Quo ever put out.
Quick question: Who has a better Pile Driver, Kane or The Undertaker?
Oh, that's hard to say. Undertaker.
Wrong.
I'm going to say Undertaker.
Undertaker. Because The Undertaker has a tombstone pile driver. He finishes people off at WrestleMania. Good night, Irene. Carry on.
And when they think they've got him, up he sits.
Up he sits.
Up he sits with them eyes. So, yes, pile driver. It's quite funny. I was about to say I love every second of it. There's one song, and I had the CD. There's one song I'd always skip every time. Every single time. It is a cover. I don't particularly dislike the song as such. I mean, I kind of do. Yeah, we'll live with I do. I'll live with that. It's a cover. It's Roadhouse Blues. Obviously, the Doors' Roadhouse Blues. It's 7.5 minutes long. And
it's long.
It's just a bit of a jam. A bit of a bluesy jam. I'll go and listen to Voodoo Child if I want a bit of a long bluesy jam. Or I'll go and look at some Stevie Ray Vaughan live videos if I want a bit of a bluesy jam. Yeah, I agree with you. I think I like to take an album as it is. Now, if it was an option between listening to that whole album or listening to it without Roadhouse Blues, I always take without. Because, I don't know, I've heard it now. Do you know what I mean? To me, it's just kind of like, yeah, that's kind of all right, but don't waste my time. A year, unspoken words, paper plane, Big Fat Mama. Give me all these tunes over and over again. I want to hear them. But Roadhouse Blues, no. I don't want to hear it. Interestingly enough, I do have quite a friend or two that is of an age where the only thing available was vinyl. And he said to me on a number of occasions, you think you've got it hard, you'll never know the struggle of trying to drop that needle on that record just at the right spot for that song you want. So I think this has been going on for a while. I think that people are now like, oh yeah, we got all this technology now, we can do so much. Yes, we can. And obviously back then you still had to buy it to listen to it. But yeah, I think the whole skipping thing, and I think that's been happening for longer than people think. I don't do it with my vinyls because when I put a vinyl on, for me, it's an event. I've put that on with the intention of listening to all of it. But yeah, so I'd always skip that one. So the answer would have to be, just to be correct, it would have to be, yeah, I would. I'd program out the songs I don't want to listen to.
Okay, interesting. I mean, on the surface for me, maybe not. Just because I like to take bodies of work for what they are. And I view maybe the playlist thing as a different entity. But, I remember being younger and with cassettes and recording like mixtapes, certain songs. So if that is a way of programming out certain tracks from albums because you're kind of cherry picking, maybe, but that's kind of thinly veiled for me. I would say maybe the tape trading scene of like the early 80s that Metallica was very much involved in.
Yeah.
Could be another one, but again, I don't think that's a very, very loose connection, if anything at all. But
yeah.
For me, I just like to listen to albums all the way through. I may skip an interlude. If I'm listening to Ready to Die and I'm in a public place or, someone's not see.
I know where you're going with this. That was actually going to be my next question. Would you skip a skit?
Potentially. But sometimes skits for me can tarnish an album. If there's way too many, if they're their own tracks, it can sometimes just get a little bit boring. I think I view skits sometimes like saying a joke. I think 3 times is the limit.
Yeah,
and that's sometimes too much, isn't it?
It is kind of a bit more of the artist's personality coming through, without using music as the sort of vehicle for that. I mean, I never really got skits at all. I was just kind of like, I don't know about that, you know? I mean, like, obviously Eminem's got them, Biggie's got them, the list is endless. But it never necessarily appealed to me. I was never one to be like, oh yeah, can't wait for this. Woo! It was just kind of like, okay, here's that. Lovely.
Yeah, this is something I got to sit through almost.
Yeah.
I get you, yeah. Yes, my album. Here we go then. So, I picked the Black Album by Prince.
Hey.
Now, if we want an album to be crowned the true Black Album, I think this one wins merit. It's nothing on the cover. It's just a black sleeve. Not even Prince's name. Not even just everything. Right. So
could you say it?
Hold your horses, boy. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. So, Metallica had a snake in their name, so that doesn't trump it. Jay-Z had him on the cover, doesn't trump it. Weezer had them in paint for their Black Album, doesn't trump it. Even Spinal Tap, right, which came out first, technically. Black Album by Prince came out 1994 or 1987, depending on what's going on in the story. But it wasn't called the Black Album, was it, Mez? It's called Smell the Glove.
Yes.
So technically, it's not called the Black Album, even though it is just black. And how much more black could it be, Mez?
None more black.
I think the Black Album by Prince wins because it's called the Black Album.
Fair enough. I need to go and watch Spinal Tap now. Marv, sorry, we're going to pause the podcast now. I'm joking. Carry on.
Imagine that. It'd just be so many quotes. It'd be so many quotes. And we don't need another thing to be quoting from. Yes, so this Black Album by Prince. Now, it was meant to be released December 8th, 1987. And you could argue that maybe it nearly was. But its actual official release date was 22nd November 1994. So you've got a good 7-year gap there, Mez. And maybe you're thinking, what? I don't get it. I don't get why.
Yeah, give me one or the other. I'm
going to tell you. So it was going to be called the Funk Bible. So, I mean, maybe, technically, you could say, well, it wasn't meant to be called the Black Album. Maybe there's still a winner out there. Maybe there is the true Black Album there somewhere. This was meant to be released in December of 87. It was meant to follow up Sign of the Times, which was released in March 87. So again, Prince, as if people don't know, so hugely prolific that even now,
amazing.
I bet there's so many things in his vault that's unreleased. I just think if any legalities happen where his music can be released, it's going to be so much of it.
It's going to be an endless stream for a long time.
It's going to be an endless stream, indeed. Sign of the Times was a big success for Prince. He was definitely in his classic period in the 80s. The man could do no wrong. And he's hitting bangers at the park each release, you know. But with the non-release of this album, it kind of ended his critical peak. He was then moving into his like less sex-focused kind of works, into his like symbol era, where he was waging war on his record company. So essentially, he wanted to release music whenever he wanted to, but his contract was like, no, 1 album a year, and he was getting frustrated. So he didn't go underneath Prince, he went under a symbol, which, you know, big story. Maybe we'll talk about it another time. But basically, he just stayed on tour until his contract ran out. Fair enough, innit? That's what I'd do.
Why not? Yeah.
Why not? So, the story goes that he made this album, the Black Album, according to his engineer, Susan Rogers, at Paisley Park, that Sheila E., who was his fiancée at the time, and she was a drummer, she was Prince's drummer, he made this album to be played at her birthday party. And apparently it was nothing more than just mindless party songs for the DJ to play. That's what Susan Rogers said. And that not much thought went into them. So the image of Prince just bashing out these 8 songs for his fiance's birthday party to play in the background is exactly what you believe him to do. Is exactly what you think. Oh, I'm repainting my kitchen next week, Prince. Oh, is it? I'll get you a double album out, yeah?
Yeah.
Donald Wise from Manchester, having it large, Purple Rain, 1999, have that. Exactly what he would do. Exactly what he'd do. He's so prolific, it hurts the brain. And Susan Rogers also said the music on this album is something that he can make in his sleep. She's like, it's that easy for him.
Wow.
My initial, again, I'm not a aficionado of Prince. I don't know all of his albums off by heart. I'm a best of guy. I have Purple Rain. It's a very, very, very good album. I got into him through skate videos, like a lot of things. I remember Little Red Corvette. I remember I Would Die For You. And Raspberry Beret. I remember that being on a UK skate video, actually. Just great. Really good. Really perked my ear up. Let's Go Crazy as well, which was on like a Girl Yeah Right special edition thing. All the skaters know what I'm on about. My friend Turkey, who was John's twin brother, he loves Prince. He really likes Diamonds and Pearls, and that is a banger. He definitely got me into that. So big up Turkey. And he was hyped when I said to him I was going to do Prince. He was like so hyped. So he didn't like this one then. So now Prince is all good. You know, he's done some other times. He is prolific. He's ready to go. He's selling out stadiums. Now he is, he's ready. So this album is done. He's waiting for it to come out. We're on the night of December the 1st, 1987. Now this is dubbed Blue Tuesday. Now this is a version of events that I have coupled together, and that could be what happens. Prince played an advanced copy of the album at a nightclub. He met a poet called Ingrid Chavez. He then asked his dancer, Cat Glover, to provide him some MDMA, because Cat Glover was on MDMA. He went, that sounds good. Let me have a go. Apparently, Cat Glover got it from Anthony Kiedis, who's from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, lead singer. Don't know how true that is. Cat Glover instructs Prince to take a certain dose. Prince takes double the dose. He then went back to Paisley Park, which is his big kind of recording studio house, with Ingrid Chavez, and he had intense conversations with her, and he had hallucinations as well. So he was tripping balls. And he convinced himself that he had met an angel, a literal angel in her, which then led him to believe that the Black Album was a work of evil, created under the influence of like a satanic energy that he called Spooky Electric, which was an alter ego of his. He also has another alter ego called Camille, which kind of plays in a little bit here because Camille is like a female that he was set to have an album released, kind of like this one. He was going to have an album called Camille. It had no title on it. It just said Camille. That was his alter ego. It was like pitch shifted up so he sounds like a woman, but that eventually got like left unreleased. So yeah, he had this kind of MDMA freak out, and then was like, it's a work of evil, get it off the shelves now, get it off the shelves. So this was like within a week. December 1st, this happened. December 8th, there was going to be a release. He was like, get it recalled now. So from what I can gather, I don't think it actually got released and then people had to get it taken off of them. I think it didn't even hit the shelves. It got put on the shelves ready, but it got taken off. And what he did is he got set to work straight away on its replacement, which was Love Sexy, which he views as a gospel album, and it kind of helped him align back with God. And it's definitely the start of the toning down of his like sexual kind of side, even though it's got a lot of allusions to sex and things. So I guess by this is one of the most bootlegged albums of all time. It's very rare as well, just considering what it's like. If you do get an original LP, it should cost you about $2,000 to procure it. I wish someone would pay $2,000 for my music. Woe is me. Woe is life. Woe is the woe of woe. And that would be the title. Woe is the woe of woe. And what I would do is I'd make sure that when you opened it up, you know when you get birthday cards at Talk and they have little music, It's your birthday. Hey, it's your birthday, Mez. You know, little idea I got going on there. That'll be one of the tracks, actually. I'd have that. So when you open up the LP sleeve, it'd be me telling you not to play it and that it's cursed. All right? Am I boring you?
No, just long wicked. Oh, back in. No, that's a cool idea. It's a cool idea.
I'm going to do it. So we'll write some tracks. Woe is the woe of woe.
That is an absolutely insane story.
Yeah.
So this perfect blackout, is it available to listen to?
I listened to it on YouTube. So
okay.
I'm going to assume that, well, it got released in 1994.
Oh, right, okay. So it obviously still exists, yeah.
For a short period of time, it did get released. So it isn't on Spotify, but I listened to it on YouTube. And what was funny was when I was looking at the track listing on the little on a pinned comment, someone had interspersed in Metallica's Black Album songs as well. So I had like the first track is called Le Grind, so I had Enter Le Grind.
That's funny. That's
Sad but Cindy
funny.
C. It kind of was a bit confusing, but it was all right. So yes, it did get released. But anyways, so what's weird again? So he says it's a work of evil, completely just like hate it, get it gone, to the point where he actually actively doesn't want it released. But he still performed some tracks from this album on the Love Sexy tour, which was like, it was put in the set list to showcase his darker side. He had pretty big set lists, big kind of overarching stories. So considering that no one or a very select few amount of people have actually heard these tracks at this time, which was 87 to, I believe 87 to 89, maybe 90. You could probably make the connection that Prince is playing these songs for himself. So he must hold them in some regard to play them live. They can't be that bad or horrible or evil or anything in this kind of thing. His disdain for this album can be seen in the video for Alphabet Street. You can see like a font that goes down, and if you pause it, it says, "Don't buy the Black Album, I'm sorry."
Why?
So he is full on, do not even go there, buddy. But to argue the opposite, there's a song called When Two Are in Love, which was taken from the Black Album. He also put this on Love Sexy, so the thing to fill its place, which implies that perhaps he wasn't hateful of the songs themselves, That's what I don't get. Susan Rogers, his engineer, says that the Black Album was kind of created a middle finger to the press because they were saying that he was just going really pop, kind of lost touch with his roots and his black audience. So he kind of was a bit like, nah, I'm going to do the Funk Bible, I'm going to do the Black Album, and visually made it completely black. And it's essentially a lot of funky songs, funky riffs. Kind of think LL Cool J, Run DMC type hip hop arrangements and sounds.
Okay.
And then put in loads of James Brown, then put in Prince. That's kind of where we are. That's the melting pot, so to speak. But yes, there's also reports of him being very depressed and angry around this time. The backing band that he had, The Revolution, had split up. So kind of like Pinkerton in a way, he kind of needed a place to like channel that energy. And he could put it into this album. This album isn't angry at all. This album is lovely. It is almost like the Beach Boys thing, kind of typical Prince. You could play someone a track off of this and go, like, what does Prince sound like? Play a track off this, you go, like the grind, they're like, yeah, that makes sense. The final paradox I kind of got here can be kind of seen in the story of its release. So, Warner Brothers was the record label that he was on. Obviously, Prince is doing great for them critically and commercially. They obviously want a Prince album to come out, but they kept trying to release it since this 87 recall. So what they tried to do in 1991 was try to pair it with the greatest hits. So disc 1 be the greatest hits, disc 2 would be the Black Album. So, people are kind of getting something, should sell well, whatever. Prince was like, nah, ain't doing that. Bearing in mind the album he did before this in 1990, which was Graffiti Street, which I believe also was like a movie that he did too, didn't sell very well, wasn't critically received. But Prince refused, goes, nah, I'm not doing that. Just leave it alone. It's evil. Get out of my sight. And they were like, well, you didn't sell, your last record didn't really sell that well. But the record he actually then released instead of that greatest hits was Diamonds and Pearls, sold amazingly. So well done, Prince. When it finally got released in 1994, no singles to promote it. It was out of print come January 95. So I think a couple of months, not even that. Here's the weird paradox of it. So he was spiritually against it, this album, but Warner Brothers went, how does $1 million sound to release it? And he went, yeah. You can have that then. Go on then. So, Mez, do we view this as an act of selling out, or knowing that then Prince was going to go to war with his record company and he really wanted to just keep releasing stuff and they were withholding and all these contractual obligations, do you view it as like a way to swindle his record company? Because if I was put in that case, hey, it's an album that you hate and maybe even don't necessarily agree with, or maybe a spiritual thing had happened in me, but they went, here's $1 million. I think I'd be a fool to turn it down. Merritt, where do you stand yourself personally if this happened to you?
Well, me personally.
And you personally, indeed. And how do you view this move by Prince? Is it selling out, or is it a swindle of the record company?
I think it's a joke, to be honest with you. $1 million or not. If you're against it, I'm joking. £1,000,000? Mate, yeah, of course you could have it. I'll tell you what, I'll drive the test press in up to the offices and I will shine your shoes while you listen to it. I think it's it's interesting because obviously you say he's very spiritually against it. Prince is very much all about his, I like this, I'm proud of this, I'll release it. And he obviously wasn't proud of that. He didn't like it. But I'm going to trail you to a weird sort of connection here. Mike Oldfield, Tubular Bells, first thing put out on Virgin Records, did insanely well because it's Tubular Bells. Mike Oldfield took acid when he was in his late teens, early 20s, and it changed him completely. In his own words, no, I think it was magic mushrooms, actually. It was something like that, to that effect.
Other drugs are available, of course.
And it ruined him. It absolutely ruined him. All of his worst fears came to life. In the street, he was like, I couldn't even walk down the street. And this nightmare continued for him for years until he actually sought therapy and helped himself out, got in a good spot. Even to this day, he still feels the effects of that because he had a real, real bad experience, which is understandable. You're altering the state of your brain. That's kind of the whole point of drugs. But anyway, yeah, there are reports of when he was recording Tubular Bells, he was walking around the studio, he was wearing no shoes or socks. He was constantly crying all the time, just always crying. Because of how messed up these drugs made him. I compare that to the Prince story of, it's all done, it's all ready, it's on the shelves, it's ready to go. Then he takes a little bit too much MDMA. That's what I think happened. I think the drugs influenced him, and I think they continue to influence him for years to come. I don't think he sold out. I think the definition of selling out, to me, is completely changing your style, the things you write about, for a contractual obligation, for money. But he didn't change his style entirely, not at that time. They just went, yeah, you're all right, mate, how's it going? Yeah, you're all right? And he's even got on the phone before they said, hey, he's gone, don't talk about that bloody Black Album, or I'll call you all silly gooses. You know that, don't you? you know I'll do that, don't you? And they've gone, yeah, we know. Anyway, do you like money? Yeah, I like money. Yeah, I like spirituality and singing about sex and being a sex symbol and all this and that. But I like money. Yeah. Go on, whisper.
This is still Prince, by the way.
Yeah, this is still Prince. Yeah.
Okay.
Go on, whisper in my ear, kid. And they offered it. And as much as spirituality's all grand and fine, spirituality don't give you 1 million old smackaroonies, do it, Marvo?
You're not wrong.
So
You're not wrong.
Hey, man's got to eat. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, I don't think he's selling out. Not by definition. I think he sold his music for money, which is something I wish to attain one day.
You'll get there, kid. You'll get there.
Yeah, I'll just have to learn the guitar first. It's pretty challenging, but
Just left hand, right hand, up and down, right?
something
That's
like
it.
that. Yeah.
Okay.
But also, given the prolific nature of this individual, the amount of music that must exist that no one's ever heard, apart from him, maybe his engineer, maybe one or two musicians. I mean, I don't really think. I think at that point he probably just went, you know what, whatever in it. Like, it's not like he was strapped for cash in 1994. I can't imagine. Do you know what I mean?
I don't think so. No.
So, all the critics are raving, and all these stories and these stories. He's just taking the money.
Exactly. You could even argue, he did the Batman soundtrack, I think, in 1989.
Yeah.
Maybe you could view that as selling out. Interesting fact, that was on its official release, Warner Brothers ran an ad in Billboard, and they went, right, the first 1,000 people that send in their bootleg copies of the album, we'll send you an official copy. Don't worry about it. No questions asked. Kind of like a bootleg amnesty box. I think that's pretty cool. You get your kind of original stuff there. I know Bono is a big fan of this album. So
Of course he is. Of course he is.
He loves it. For an album of songs bashed out in an easy manner, that he can play in his sleep, just to soundtrack a birthday party, and it goes on to, to cause Prince to freak out, get it recorded, because he was going to then release it as an album, gets it recorded, and then the record label were like, please let us release it. He goes, no. Gets $1 million from it, from 8 tracks that he's just bashed out by himself, whatever, and a few other helping hands. Just because that's easy. I mean,
not a bad life.
The boys.
Not a bad life, is it, really?
Not a bad life indeed. It's definitely one of the most unique stories of any album I've encountered.
Yeah, that's mad. Absolutely insane.
But yeah, the whole album's got a huge party feel. It's very enjoyable. Like, the rhythms and sounds are just enjoyable everywhere you turn. Bob George is the only track which kind of takes a break from the fun, but it's still a worthwhile listen. The whole album is just like you said about the Beach Boys one. I'd say it's very, very easily digestible. It doesn't outstay its welcome. Le Grind's got catchy vocal hooks dotted everywhere. Prince is putting on an English accent at points, which is just strange, but I mean, it's Prince and it can do what he wants. Cindy C, which is named after Cindy Crawford. It's got really great horn parts. And the whole song could really sum up the 80s for anyone who wasn't there for it. Dead on It actually features rapping by Prince and has a really, really funky guitar line. The first kind of really noticeable, catchy guitar riff. And it's got the best line of the whole album, which goes like this. All the sisters like it when you lick 'em on the knees.
Legend.
Bob George track. It gives us this slowed down Prince voice, which I want to say is the spooky electric alter ego. He's portraying a pimp who is arguing with his girlfriend for cheating on him with Prince. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but why there's a song that exists is Prince. What am I saying?
It's Prince. And it also has a good line. He goes, that skinny motherfucker with the high voice. So he's trashing himself.
Yeah, I love
portraying somebody else. Go on, Prince. When Turin Love, I think it's a great pop song. It's definitely like the R&B pop prototype you'd see in the late 90s to 2005 that we've talked about in previous episodes. That like guitar sound played on the keyboard, very synthetic. It's got really interesting like diminished run from a playing perspective. Very interesting one, which you don't really hear in those pop songs. Satisfying modulation, kind of pushes you back into the warmth of the verse, and really nice harmonies that sound, now I know where D'Angelo's getting all of his influence from in terms of his vocal harmonies. From Prince. This song, maybe not specifically, but you hear it. The best title here is Super Funky Califragisexy. Say that after 55 rum and cokes. It also has the most ear-catching intro synths. They're kind of like jarring, but they work. Like a bit out of tune, but really, really cool. And again, I'm having a great time with this record. None of it is evil. None of it sounds dark. That's the weird thing as well. Like, he's saying it's evil and got weird spiritual horribleness to it, but it's a very light-hearted, funky album that you would hear played in a party, you know? Rock hard in a funky place, right? Amazing horn work, great guitar solo that only scratches like the kind of surface of Prince's, like, you know, axe wielding prowess. The whole album really enjoyable, really enjoyable. I don't understand really what this evilness comes from, this darkness pit, that kind of period comes from, but yeah, definitely he was not a fan of it at all. But he did play Le Grind live. He used to put on concerts at his Paisley Palace home, and he did a vocal and sampler set. Because this is what's great about Prince, is he'll do full band, then he'll do acoustic guitar set, then he'll do piano set, a DJ set, and then he did a vocal and sampler set, and he played Le Grind for the first and only time. So further proves my point. Kind of like the Pinkerton thing, like, okay, you've had time away from it. Are you still mad at it? People want this music out. Just very confusing. Yeah, that's so weird. That's so weird. I literally cannot think of another album that's had that kind of trajectory, that kind of story, you know?
That's insane, isn't it? It's just a big story with lots of different bits and bobs. Very, very confusing, very sort of big. But I suppose when you are as big as Prince, you can do things like that and go, nope, not releasing that.
And then go, you know what? I'll start the follow-up right now, and then do a whole new album that sells really well.
Absolutely
Absolute madness. But that's all I got, Mez. That is all I've got.
All you got, kid.
That's all I got, kid. What we'll probably do now is we're going to take a 2-week break.
Yep.
Mainly because, you know, gigging is now starting to, you know, be a thing, maybe. So our schedules might be getting even more busier.
A little bit strict, yeah.
You know, when you've got work and you've got rehearsing and you've got other commitments that you've already kind of, you know, got in your life and just general day to day. We just need to kind of, we need to like have a little bit of a refresher, come back. We've got a lot of big plans for the podcast as well. We'll just have a little revamp maybe in terms of like how we structure the show. And then we want to start this new series because it's, so we'll pick a band, we'll pick an artist, we'll pick a genre. We might do it as smaller episodes. You know, I don't want to say we'll do like this, continue these ones and then do it because it's twice a week. I think maybe that might be pushing it, but we'll definitely do it because it's, we're going to get a lot more special guests. We're going to try and get them confirmed and booked in. See if we can get some different people on. That'd be really, really good. Also want to get people's music to play on here.
Yes.
And get a big old database of that. We do have a couple of people, but we want them to come on the show to then play their music.
And there will be 1 or 2 more tracks featured from my upcoming album. So keep an eye out for that. And just a little 2 more fun things from me. Number 1, I checked our Podbean account the other day, and I spotted that we've hit over 300 plays. So thank you so much to all of our listeners.
That's amazing.
Never imagined that. Well, to be honest, I didn't know what I'd imagined where we'd be doing with this now. But episode 10, 300 plays. That's very, very cool. Very humbled. Keep giving us your money because we need it more than you.
No, Mez, no. That's the other. That's your inside thought.
Yeah. But no, very cool. Very, very cool. Very humbled by that. And our guest from the other week, Asheen, me and him are going to be doing a collaboration video before long. We haven't decided on the song yet, but keep an eye out for that because it's going to be a ripper.
Nice. Love to hear that. But yeah, generally, I you know, even just doing this podcast was more just like a pipe dream of like, that sounds like a good idea. I had it around my head for ages. And, you know, surprisingly, it was just to kind of just keep in contact with people.
Yeah.
You know? Like people from our, you know, uni friends or friends we maybe lost touch with a little bit have just gone, oh, that's really cool. And you have discussions with them. But the fact that, you know, like someone's played us in India kind of astounds me. Someone's played us in America, like, you know, and you get people following you that you never heard and you
really cool.
Don't know. And it's like really cool, really humbling. So we hope that we can keep pushing that. But yeah, we'll take about a 2-week break. We'll be back. We're going to revisit all the episode lists and it's going to be great. I can't wait, bud. And
Me neither.
Me neither either also as well. And yeah, yo. So we're going to go off with one of my songs again.
Oh,
I will be
bloody hell.
I will be releasing a Crazier, which I did play, I want to say a few episodes back.
Yes.
As a single. Features you on the old guitar solo. So I will be doing that. Check Afroloon for the details on that one. And this track is from Wherever You Go, There You Are, which I released a few weeks ago. And it's called Pray. And I will be trying to put together an EP with some of my good friends, some good singers to put on there. And it's going to be great. But yes, this one's called Pray. It's probably the first track I actually wrote for this record.
Very cool.
And really likes it. I'm hyped on it. Mez is hyped for it. He doesn't care. And what I might do, I might say I'll release it as a single, that one or Crazier. Recall it off the shelf and then go, hi, is this Warner Brothers? Yeah, so that 1 million. Do you want to do it PayPal? Do you want to do it backs? Whatever. I'm gone. See you later, kids.
Thanks a lot, guys. Cheers.